Hello, everybody. The doctor is in. Doc Lock in the house. Uh, a doctor is never late, John. He arrives exactly when he means to, or whatever Gandalf said. Um, yeah, so hello, everybody. Welcome to the, what do I call this? The Project Doctor stream. So it's a stream where I want to get you guys involved and I want to hear about your projects. So you come on and talk about your project. It can be a completed project you're showing off, a project you're in the middle of working on. It can even be an idea for a project so we can brainstorm some things. Or it could be something that you're looking for help with. And if we can help you out, let's do that. So yeah, if anybody wants to join, there's a link in the description to my Discord. If you just ping me on Discord, so tag me anywhere in the Discord, and I will get you the link to join. And yeah, so each person will talk to for up to 10 minutes max, and the project does not need to be a super fancy project or anything. It could be just blinking an LED or anything you want. So yeah, if you want to join too. But the first person we have joining us is Braedon. So we were talking off air about the pronunciation of this, and I think I got it right now. Braedon. That accent thing is a fada in Irish and Scottish, I guess. So, welcome.
Well, thank you. So, what happened was when I was growing up, my grandmother used to make hand ornaments. She'd do wood ornaments and she'd hand paint them, and every year we'd get a different ornament. And when I started doing electronics, I was looking for a really easy project that was also kind of fun. And so, a couple 3 years ago, I created a Christmas ornament, and I can actually show you one of them real quick here. So the red one that says Carol of the Bells is the very first ornament I created. And then I started looking at it thinking, well, it's just a bunch of LEDs and a little piezo buzzer and an AT Tiny 13. So I could just keep making these over and over again and just keep changing the design and changing the tune. And so I came up with some reusable source code and a reusable schematic. And then I said, well, anybody should be able to make these. They're really easy. And so I open sourced the whole thing, not my specific design, but just sort of the generic design. And so anybody can find it. It's out on my GitLab under Braedon Lane, badge life tiny 13. And the schematic is out there, and I've created just sort of this dummy round printed circuit board that you can use. And all the source code is there, the little sound stuff. And I came up with, because the Tiny 13 has very little memory.
It's crazy, yeah.
And I want to be able to put a whole song in it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I can, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not.
Go for it. I can hear that it is playing noise, but I can't really.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, it's probably good that it's not very loud. I think people would get a little nutso. And so I came up with this notation that I can compact an entire note duration and octave in a single byte. And so that's out in the open source. And as soon as the song is done, it goes to sleep. And so a little coin battery lasts years, because you only use it during the holiday anyways. And so it's available out there. All the source code is out there. The only thing is my songs aren't out there. You go and pick your own one. And so these are what I created. And initially, actually, I'm just going to quickly change here to really get it to be simplified. I use Charlie plexed LEDs, and if anybody is familiar with that, it uses very few pins. So 4 pins gets you 12 LEDs. But to make it even easier to solder, I actually use a resistor array.
Very nice. Yeah, so I did not come up with the schematic. I stole it from Dave Darko, who's in the chat. But my Christmas tree, the PCB tree, also uses Charlie Plexin as well. When I would have done that, I wouldn't have even known that resistor arrays existed. So that's it's a nice. So you can see it there on Braedon's screen that RN1 is actually 4 resistors in one. So each pad like that line up is its own thing. So it's a nice way of getting size down, and like a small resistor array is probably a little bit easier to like solder than the equivalent size individual resistor to, or at least, it's not confetti, or not confetti, it's not sand, it's at least sizable.
Not only is it a little easier because it's a single item and it's got 8 pads to solder up into play, but it also reduces the amount of work you have to do. It's easier to handle, and you don't lose them. Like you said, it's not these tiny little specks. You can actually see up on the mock-up there. Really, this comes down to a battery holder, a little piezo buzzer, the wake button, the AT Tiny 13, and the resistor array, and then some number of LEDs, and you're done.
I'm super impressed that you can fit any amount of like songs or whatever onto it, because like I normally would not be programming small microcontrollers like this, and like so I took Dave's code from the original badge that I was modifying. I was like, oh, I'll add a few more features, and I saw this like your memory is full thing, and I was like, oh. This is a new area of knowledge for me now. Nicholas Fought is asking what's the brownout voltage. It's configurable, isn't it? Or at least
I disable it completely, but yes, it is configurable. It typically you'd set it at 2.7 volts. But no, I mean, one of the things that probably keeps my code down is you'll actually notice that I don't write in Arduino code. I write in. So the code itself for this without the song is probably 200 or 280 bytes, maybe 300 bytes. So you've got almost 700 bytes for music.
Wow. Nice. And one other question I have. So you have your 4 GPIOs being Charlie plexed.
Yeah.
And you have the buzzer. So is the buzzer running off one of the Charlie plex pins as well, or
no? So you've got 2 choices. If you didn't want to have any music, you could actually use 5 pins for Charlie plexed, and you'd end up with 20 LEDs. 4 pins gets you up to 12. I only ever use 10. So a lot of things are being reused. Your SPI, you end up reusing all those pins, get reused for Charlie plex, and even I think it's even the wake button is using the same pin as the piezo buzzer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back on my PCB tree. So like I'm using 4 for the LEDs, and I do have a button, but I thought the button was on the same pin as the other one. I thought the Atinies only had 4 GPIOs unless you use the reset line as well. But I could be that must be wrong. Yeah, you have 5 plus you could use the reset line if you burnt your fuses that way.
Yeah.
But then you need to use a high voltage. Yeah. High voltage being like 12 volts to reprogram it. But
so
this is great.
And so here's the schematic, and I've also annotated it, and there's a PDF out there. So if you don't want to actually look at the schematic, you're just interested in looking at the project overall, there's a PDF that has the schematic and the printed circuit board design, the PCB. But I even give you some recommendations on if you want to use regular LEDs. A lot of the badge life are now using side mount LEDs, like you'll see here on this one, where I clear off everything and the light actually shines through where the hands are and all those things.
We can't see your.
Oh, sorry.
What's currently on screen is your schematic. Yeah, no problem.
So you can actually see right here where it actually shines right through the hands, right through the scarf. And so that's using side mount. And then my original project that started all this was the eChallenge coin, and it uses reverse mount LEDs. So you can actually see there's holes in there that the LEDs actually stick through.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other project.
I'm down that rabbit hole at the moment, looking at ones for a newer version of the PCB tree. So I'm looking at the ones that are specifically for reverse mounting through the FR4, and they're so expensive. Like, it's crazy how expensive they are.
Yeah, I've got something like 53,000 of them coming in.
Wow.
I found it
still about 20 cents per.
No, actually, no. So on my eChallenge coin, and we're going to run over, and I want to give you back your session.
Yeah.
On the eChallenge coin, I was buying in lots of 100 to 200, and they were about 15 to 17 cents a piece.
Yeah.
The supplier that I'm getting the 53,000 from, I'm down to about 2.5 cents a piece.
Wow, that's really good. I must talk to you offline about that. So, yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for showing this, Braedon. There was a question in the chat about your Porta Prog, but I don't think we'll have time to go into it. But maybe you'll come back another week and show us that, because that's something I'm really interested in too.
Yeah, actually, this is the prototype of the case for it. But yeah, this is. I mean, I'll show you. One of the things that's amazing is just how quickly. There we go. I mean, like, I've just programmed it.
Yeah,
that's how long it took, and it's running my smoke test right now.
That's that's brilliant. Like, I was pre-programming a Tiny 13 chips, but like I was programming it from my PC. You know, as in I had this programmer that had like a spring-loaded connector, and you know, I was dropping it in, running a script, and like basically the script would just continuously run and just wait for me to press enter, and it just burned the thing. But it was nowhere near as fast as that. So I'd definitely be interested in hearing more about that if you'd like to come back sometime.
Yeah, we can come back and I'll cover that, because there's a whole bunch of reasons why I created it.
Yeah. And so people who want to find out more about this, or where they can learn about this badge, because this is a really good sort of like base level if you want to get into badges. Like, this is a great schematic to get you started. Where can they find you?
Well, so you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter, but the easiest thing is GitLab, not GitHub, and Braedon Lane, and you'll find all my open source projects, and there's lots and lots of them.
Perfect. I'll update the description after this finishes with all that stuff. And thank you so much, Braedon, for joining. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. So that was Braedon, who I didn't know how to pronounce his name before, but now I know. So I learn something new every day. So as mentioned, if anybody else wants to join, there should be spaces. Just tag me in the Discord. The link is in the description. The description is down. Why did I point up? But next we have Nick Reynolds. Hello, Nick.
Hiya. Hello, everybody.
So where are you from, Nick, and what are you showing off?
Right, I'm from London in the UK, and I'm showing off a strange tail wagging the dog type project. I've kind of made an odd rod for my own back. So what I've done is I've faked up a retro computer on an ESP8266. It's not an emulator, because there's loads of that around. My hobby is playing live action role-playing games, and for that we often use interactive props, and I've been building props for years, things that people can use in the game, and they do stuff, things happens. One of my favorite ones is I made a replica Enigma machine, and people could type messages in and decode them, and all that sort of stuff. Nice. And a friend and I went away to a really great game in Finland a couple of years ago, and they had loads of computer terminals dotted around, and you could log in and you could use them, and you could send messages to each other. And they had a massive setup with servers in the back room, tons of stuff. They took hundreds of people involved in running the game. For our games, there's kind of about 3 of us, so we can't go to the same level. I thought, right, I want to make something that looks like a fake computer, but I also want to make it so that we can deal with the fact we're in a site with very little mains power, where we've got relatively few resources and we don't know what kit we're going to get. So I ended up basically making a thing that you connect to the serial port of any old random PC, and it pretends to be a computer network.
Nice.
How
Do
do
you
I
want me to
change
add
screens?
I can add that. So you're sharing your screen now. Do you want me to bring it up?
Yeah, if you can bring that up. So
Okay.
what this is in the game, there are computer terminals you log on to, and these are just ESP8266s connected to over USB to any old machine, and you sit an RFID card on top of it to log into it, so it pretends to be a computer. And you've got this kind of retro interface. And what I've done is I've made a library which might be of use to other people, I don't know, and it allows you to interact with over the serial port, over the USB serial port, and click on things with the mouse and make things happen and type stuff in. So for example, so we've got a chat. The chat is one of the main functions of it, and you can send messages. So here we go. So that's me on one of them. There's 3 of them, and this is just putty running on the machine, and they talk to each other. Now the
I
flip
just want to
side,
point out as well that you were able to click on that, right?
yeah, click on that, and it's changed the title on the window, and it does all the sort of things you might have in a kind of a window environment. So there are files on here. Let's find something with files. Yeah. So if we look at this, and you can view files, and somewhere on here I've got one with some markup in it. Sorry, markdown. It'll render markdown, and this is reading files off an SD card, and this is running on the ESP8266, not on a computer at all, just on the ESP. And you can do all the usual things. So when you're sort of like sending chat messages, I'll just type some rubbish, and you've got line editing, and you can mess around with it. So it's faking up being an old-fashioned mainframe kind of application on the ESP. Yeah, so you can poke around, and you can scroll through stuff. It fakes it all up quite nicely. The other thing it does is, because we don't have any infrastructure, we're outdoors, we don't have any Wi-Fi, they talk to each other over a mesh network, which is another library I've written to support this. So there's no sort of Wi-Fi AP involved here. It's a self-organizing mesh network running over ESP now, which again might be a thing other people might be interested in.
Yeah. So so that one then, the mesh network thing. So that's basically, hey, if one ESP can talk to another ESP, like will it pass the message along? And
absolutely. So
nice.
In the sort of games we run, we'll be out in the woods somewhere. Now the plan is basically everything in the game that we're running later in this year will all be part of this mesh network. So you can use these terminals to control other things, and the output of other things comes up on these terminals. So one of the game puzzles is there's a scientific puzzle where you have to find some stuff out. Once the scientific instruments, which is another prop I've built, finishes doing the things, the results turn up as a file on these. And it's all maps over the mesh network. And for that, I adapted an already existing mesh algorithm that somebody uses in a few places. It's used for a thing called Meshtastic, which some people might have heard of, which is a LoRa-based thing. But this is all based off the Wi-Fi.
That's amazing. What a cool project. I could see this being like, so I've never been there, but from what I kind of gather, like, I could see this being like such a big hit at something like Chaos Core conference or something like that. Like, I could just imagine just that kind of couple of day conference, people would lose their mind over something like this.
Yeah, and it's not designed to be a fully functional real thing. It's there for a game to have a bit of fun with, message each other. You've got different groups you can put people in and have group chats and all that kind of stuff. And I'm slowly adding features over time to try and make it a bit more interesting and a bit more real-like when you look at it. So it's full of blah that doesn't do anything, but you've got to keep players entertained. If any of you have ever done an escape room, the sort of activities that happen in our games are like an escape room, except you're doing it for 48 hours plus in a row.
That's so cool. And like when you started showing this on the Discord, it was a while ago now, but like I immediately kind of thought of that this might be an interesting way of like configuring some stuff on your ESP, like as in, or it doesn't have to be an ESP, right? It could be probably like I'm sure there's some ESP specific things, but like as in you have a full menu here that you can type into, and all you
Yep.
need is serial, right? So you don't need to connect to anything. Like if you wanted to change, say, like Wi-Fi details, or if you wanted to change, like, you know, like say API keys or things like that. Like this
Absolutely.
could be a pretty interesting interface for that type of stuff. And all the person needs to have is an SSH client. How does it work with other, like, is the stuff pretty PuTTY specific, or like if you hook this into like a Mac, would it, you know, would the terminal SSH it in work the same, or?
Right, I've been testing it against PuTTY. In principle, all the stuff is not PuTTY specific, but an awful lot of terminal emulators don't support all the stuff.
Yeah.
But you can get PuTTY for kind of anything, really.
Yeah.
Now, the basic stuff will work on most things. All the fancy widget drawing stuff is going to break quite badly, and I would say on some other terminal emulators. But this is probably most useful for things that don't have Wi-Fi. I'm using it on an ESP because I want to do the mesh network stuff as well. But it's small enough you can run it on an Arduino Uno and use that to set things on that. You don't need a big microcontroller. The only reason this is a big one is because I'm trying to fake something up.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Great project, Nick. And thank you for sharing with us. So, what's the story with the project going forward? Like, is it still something you're working on? Where can people find out more, or can they start running it now? Or
right, I'm still working on making it better over time and building all the things that tie into it. I'm afraid at the moment I haven't released the source. It's not out there anywhere. I do have a blog, which I occasionally post about it on it. But yeah, it's not out there yet because it's still a little bit broken. I was still fixing it earlier.
Yeah, well, just by judging by the reactions in the chat or whatever, people are really excited about it. So I think it's further along than you think it is in terms of like how, you know, how like the fact that it works at all is like, you know, 95% of any maker project, right? As in normally we just
I suffer from terrible sort of code embarrassment, which is why I never post anything very often.
The last project I worked on is such a mess. So like it isn't released yet, the code, for a different reason. Like as in I just don't want it to be public for another week or so. But like yeah, if I hadn't been so used to not, you know, I'm well used to this code embarrassment stage. It, you know, it just washes off my back, like, or you know, it's like water off a duck's back was the saying I was trying to say. But like, yeah, I think I'd like to encourage more people that if your code is working, it's better than 99.99% of other people's like ideas or whatever, you know, as in this isn't a full-time job or anything. It's just a bit of fun, and you can put it out there and people will definitely learn from it. But yeah, no, great project, Nick. So the blog, what blog is that?
It's blog.arcanium.london. Horrible name.
Rolls off the tongue. I'm not going to attempt to spell Arcanium, but I'll definitely update the description after this with with that. So yeah, thanks so much, Nick, for coming along and showing off your project.
Cheers, thank you.
All right. So that was Nick with his terminal emulator for Arduinos. So yeah, like when he started showing this off in the Discord a while ago, I was just amazed by it. That the mouse click was the thing that was really like really kind of like, wow, I did not know that was a thing. Like I didn't, other than copying and pasting, I didn't think you could barely interact with a terminal using a mouse at all. But yeah, I guess here we are. Oh, yeah. So we currently don't have anybody in the queue as far as I can tell. So if people have questions in the chat that they want to talk about, if they want to ask me random questions, I won't say I'll answer them all, but you can ask me anything. Yeah, so my week has mostly been busy with a secret project that I hope that I can talk about after the weekend. It's probably pretty obvious what it is just by the context of my last video, but yeah, I just don't want to talk too much about it at the moment. But yeah, so that's that. I don't see any questions. Just a lot of people saying that they're proud of their code. I'm proud of your code too, Johnny. I'm more project proud than code proud. I'm definitely happy to. I'd be happier to get a project kind of somewhat working than to have this like really elaborate way of doing it, or even just this really neat way of doing it. Like, I don't know, sometimes just getting something working is a good thing. Like, something working done badly is depending on the context. Now, if it's just like a maker project, something working done badly is better than, you know, something done perfectly in your mind and never actually put on paper or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense to people, but Arturo's never proud of anything he does. He should be, for sure. Okay, so we have someone new in the chat. It's an old regular. Like, 4 people have joined the Discord in the last few seconds, so but nobody has tagged me, so that's fine. But it's just weird to see so many people join at once. But anyways, Dave Darko, hello.
It's totally fine. You don't have to put me on just because I'm here waiting for it.
No.
I thought I might hop in today because I'm proud to announce that I started soldering something today. It's not one of my projects. It's the Oskitone Poly 555 boards.
Yeah, let me zoom you in there.
Pew pew.
Nice.
So that is basically 20 oscillators built with a 555 on a PCB, and then it gets amplified, and you have some keys, and you can actually print a huge case. And so, yeah, I thought I start with the soldering first and then start with the printing another day because it's big. It doesn't fit the printer mini, the Prusa mini, so I'm a bit hesitant as always to print something big, but yeah.
Yeah, you're going crazy at the moment to print stuff, according to your Twitter, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you have an idea. I showed it last time, the boxes that I wanted to make.
Yeah,
I had most of them done, and I printed 6 total, and they stack up really nice. But yeah, I had another idea to print something, and I bought a shredder for paper stuff just to shred some documents that I don't need anymore. And yeah, I was joking on Twitter, I should print some turtles, because when you have a shredder, you should have turtles. And then it dawned on me that, yeah, someone used up all the green that he has. So it's not really, yeah.
Yeah. So what color are your turtles now?
Well, I haven't printed them yet, and I also then found another spool of green filament, so it's not that bad, but yeah. I bought about 8 kilos of Sundu when it was on sale on AliExpress.
I've never bought filament off AliExpress.
It was one where you could select from where it comes delivered.
Yes.
And it was from Germany, so I was not that hesitant anymore. Yeah.
Nicholas is asking you to show the goose. Did you print the goose?
No, I didn't print a goose. I'm sorry, but I was asking people what they are printing to get some inspiration, and he was posting that he's printing the goose, or he printed the goose. I'm not sure if that was his goose, but Yeah, I was looking for ideas. There was no. I didn't say that I would print everything that was presented to me.
That
But
goose was doing the rounds before. It's a really nice looking design. That the Untitled Goose Game has like a special place for me because I used to play it with my daughter, and she used to call it the duck game, and like she just used to love watching me going around annoying everybody. So yeah.
Nice.
They added 2-player recently, and I was trying to play it with her, and yeah, well, it didn't work out great. She kind of can control it, but like she keeps just getting stuck somewhere on the screen rather than going where she's meant to go. But that's fine.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I was
feel
playing.
stuck too.
A friend of mine was playing Battlefield on the console, and he got stuck. And then I tried it, and I had a very bad technique of running around, not sure where I'm aiming, but I ran through the level, and I made it, and he didn't after trying it for 2 hours, and he was not so keen about that. But
And you just retired, and as the greatest.
Yeah, it's like can't beat
mic
me.
drop. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Time
Proven
to get out
technique.
of there. So the 555 synth. Sorry, I derailed us there. I brought us away from that. So how many 555s will it have?
This one, 20.
20.
There's like for every button there is an oscillator.
Nice. Did we lose Dave or did we lose me?
I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
Sorry.
Now, yeah.
So 20 on that one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you again now. Yeah.
Oh, you're coming back. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So 20 on one PCB, and then I thought, well, the kit was out of sale,
Out of stock.
out of stock, right?
Is it?
Yeah. So
not available.
Right. That's a good different word. Anyway, I ordered the PCBs because there weren't any kits available, and that was the first time that I ordered someone else's KiCad project, and I also had to. Well, in general, it was my first KiCad project that I ordered somewhere, so I had to find out how to get the Gerbers out of the KiCad because I wanted to send it into JLC PCB. Yeah, and then I ordered 5 PCBs. So I thought maybe, and I still need the parts for it, but you can kind of take 2 PCBs and put them next to each other like this.
Ooh.
And then you have this, you have to move one button, and it should work out. So when I'm very, very bored, then I might do the 38 keys instead of the 20 keys.
How much is 555 timer? Because they're not that cheap, right? Or at least to get legit ones, they're not that cheap.
Ooh. I think
Or do you know?
I think I made a spreadsheet for that, but normally don't ask a maker what he's paid for.
No, I'm not. I didn't ask how much you paid for it. I'm asking how much they are.
I think I bought 100 of them for €8 on AliExpress.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah, might be.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's a lot of soldering though, and it was bigger than 10x10 as well. So like that would have been a whole $9 or something.
Okay, I seriously need to find the doc then, but I have a spreadsheet for that because I was wondering the same. There was there's another design on here. There's a little
breakout.
Yeah, that's what's the word for it? There's an Atari Punk console.
Okay.
That's basically 2 555 timers in one chip, the 556.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically, that's another oscillator that makes weird noises. So JLC PCB actually asked
Charged
for
you.
more money because it's two designs. And I was like, why?
Yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah, you
So-
used to get away with that, but they don't anymore. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
surprised that they even asked you. Did they ask you, or did the Gerber upload tell you owe them more money?
No, they actually asked me
Emailed
because
afterwards.
they emailed and they had another board, so it all stacked up to lots of fees somewhere else. And but I made a spreadsheet and I found it. So for the PCBs, I paid. I think I took this away and just took the whole PCB for the price. That was 23 euros for 5, so around 5 euros for one.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And the 555 100 for 8 euros 40 cents. So that's okay. We don't want to think about the other parts that I have to buy.
No, we'll never think of them. Yeah. So what else is going on, Dev? How's the Berlin nightlife at the moment?
Well, it's brighter because there's a lot of snow, and one more reason to not go out because or outside. It's pretty snowed in, and we had a storm here, so that's fine.
Nicholas is telling us how to get around this limitation. Just put a random trace between the two. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I wasn't really thinking about that because it was not my design. So I just tried to order it and then notice, oh, there's another board actually there that I don't really need.
Yeah.
But I ordered 556 timers anyways. So
Yeah. I've never really got into that synth stuff. Like, I enjoy the sounds they produce, but I don't know how, as in I wouldn't even know where to start. And it's everybody who goes, when you get into synths, you're gonna dig into it even more. I'm like, I don't need another one of those.
Yeah, it's also complete cash not trap, but you're pumping a lot of money into the. Yeah, so when you do synthesizers, you start with the oscillator, but then it's something that just you have a dial where you can change the pitch, but then you want something that automatically changes the pitch. So you need a voltage controlled. Or you need what do you need for that? Something that changes the pitch. Could be sequencer that has multiple dials and then switches through the dials, and so then you want to change the amplitude of it, so you get that module for 150 euros or more,
and all of a sudden you've dead mouses set up with a suspended ceiling, noise isolation.
Yes. And all those crazy modules that cost you 500 euros and you use it for one song and then hate it for the rest of them. I like the simpler approach.
We actually have another person, so thank you for filling in for this time and stopping me having to go on a monologue. I appreciate it. Thank you for showing the 555 what 555
Poly
synth?
555
Poly 555 synth.
Oscar tone.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Dave. Right, so next up we have someone who I've seen a lot of on streams, but I've never spoken to. So, Johnny, hello.
Hello there, Brian. How's it hanging?
Yeah, long time. I've seen you around on streams for at least a couple of years, but I've never heard you talk. So this is an experience for me.
Yeah, Henry told me that I made a recording for him, and he heard my voice. He was shocked. Oh my God! I never heard your voice before. Not sure what the big deal is.
I don't know. You sound perfectly normal to me. Like, as in, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you anything distinctive about it or anything. So
yeah, nothing serious. I'm gonna show off my big project here. This is the new Pico
Ooh.
And it's blinking. Wow. Where there?
Nice. So how did you find it? What are you programming it in?
Yeah, I managed to install their stupid SDKs. It's C++.
That'd be your preferred thing to work with normally, anyways, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was painful because it's not the instructions is not clear how to install it on Mac.
I was pretty surprised. They posted a poll on Twitter about like what are you going to use to program the Pico with, and I was surprised to see the majority of people pick C++. I just wouldn't have thought that would be. I would have thought one of the Pythons would have been more popular for the Pico, just with the majority of the audience probably coming from Raspberry Pis where you would normally use Python. But yeah, I was surprised.
I would have suspected they go for Circuit Python. But no, obviously not. We're stuck in the C++ world.
Yeah, so how do you like it? Did you do anything fancy with the GPIO things?
No, I find it boring because it doesn't have Wi-Fi. So this is actually my real project.
I'm okay with blinking LEDs. I'm fine with blinking LEDs.
Now this is open MQTT gateway connected to my Home Assistant setup. And the LEDs are actually IR diodes, so I can turn off my TV from Home Assistant.
Nice.
I just got it working.
Nice.
So you just send the payload using MQTT, and it changes the channel on the TV.
So you're sending you're not just sending a command to say, "Hey, turn off the TV." You're saying, "Here's the payload that I want you to blast through the IR. Send that," is it?
Yes.
So you can reprogram your remote through Home Assistant, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
The only problem is you have to find the right codes.
Yeah. Yeah, you nearly always have to have another Arduino project floating around to learn the codes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hooking this up in my bedroom. I have a projector. I want to automate it. So I have those buttons, the flick buttons. This Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And I can control Home Assistants using the HTTP stuff they support. It's very, very, very primitive, but it works.
Yeah.
So,
and for the IR project, did you have to where did you source the IR LEDs? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, that's an old eBay purchase.
Just like a random one from China or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I
found
they are crap.
I found
to get the TV to respond.
Yeah, I found the cheap ones, they worked for most of my stuff, but then there was there was some things where I guess the receiver wasn't that strong or whatever, and so it worked fine on my TV, worked fine on my the AV receiver, the thing that has 4 HDMI ports and the surround sound. But then my satellite box just was, you'd have to be 2 foot away from it to make it work. So, but yeah, I found a couple of good ones. I can't even remember where I got them. It must have been just more expensive ones on AliExpress, but they seem to be a bit better. But I haven't done much since. One thing, I know you're into doing PCBs and stuff yourself anyways, but you can buy an IR shield for the D1 Mini. It might be a nice compact solution for this project. I haven't actually got one myself, but I think Colin Hickey did a video about it a while ago.
Yeah, I've seen there's lots of stuff, but I want to make a more flat package.
Yeah, makes sense. So will you go bare ESP yourself and go do that dance, or
Yeah,
Would
there's
you?
almost no components
Yeah,
to make it very compact.
yeah. And do I see a free touch deck there, or is that?
This is Dustin's his first working PCB he made.
You got number one, did you? I don't know what number I got.
I got number two. The first one, he broke the USB connector. So I had to fix that one. So I got the second one.
Easily done. Yeah. So I have. What number did I get? I got number. Where did he write the numbers? Was it on my page? I wrote it somewhere, didn't I? I don't know. I have one of them too, but I haven't even taken it out of the box basically yet. I just inspected it and went, geez, that looks nice, and then put it away because I've been busy. But yeah, so for those who don't know, so this is Dustin Watts's ESP32 Touchdown is the name of the board, and he's getting ready to sell them on Tindy. So it's a ESP32 with a capacitive touchscreen on board with is it a 320 by 240 LCD screen? I think.
Something like that.
Something like that, in that kind of ballpark. So relatively,
it's a capacitive touch as well.
Yeah, so it's relatively high resolution for an ESP32 or whatever. So yeah, it's a really nice project. And then the software he's running on it there is Dustin's free touch deck software. So it's basically like a stream, or what are they called? Stream Deck kind of open source clone. So it has like pages of buttons that, it's sending a macro keypad events, configurable macro keypad events over BLE. So it's a really amazing project, and Dustin's done a really good job with it. So people are interested in that, you should definitely check it out. So Johnny, what's the plan with the MQTT IR project? Will you be sharing it anywhere, talking about it in more detail, or?
This is stuff everybody else in the Home Assistant community is doing, so it's nothing special.
Okay. Well, it's always nice to get another way of presenting that information. But would you have like links to, where people could learn more about it? I'm sure people would be interested in it.
Yeah, we're discussing the Home Assistant stuff in your Discord. So.
Okay. Yeah, in the what is it? The home networking, is it?
Yes.
Yes. So if people want to,
some of us are running Home Assistant. So.
Yeah, it's really something I want to kind of get more into at the moment. So I see you've the IKEA remote there in front of you. I bought my first piece of that tech with my last IKEA order. It's going to get delivered, I think, on Friday. So yeah, I get to play around with that. I also have that ZZH stick that I bought on Tindy. So I'll see if I can hook it up to my PC or whatever as well. So yeah, I'm interested in getting started with it. Again, another rabbit hole for me to dive down.
That's a real rabbit hole. I just want to warn everyone: don't start with home.
Just don't do it.
It also gets very, very expensive. I have 38 bulbs connected in my Zigbee network at the moment. That's not it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, Johnny, thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate you sharing your project.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we don't have anyone else lined up at the moment. If people want to join, feel free to just tag me in the Discord. So does anybody want to ask me questions? Like, I don't know, what's that 3D printer doing there? I think I talked about it on the last stream, and it's still there. So it's there on my floor for a week. There's a dab emoji. It's a cough into your cough into your sleeve emoji. So I'm looking at the chat through StreamYard, and it doesn't show emojis, or at least it doesn't show that emoji. And it's like showing up elbow cough, dab on those haters. So yeah. Yes, so I think I talked about it. 3D printer never worked. My wife won it on Instructables for baking an owl cake. And we got it, and I built it. And like I don't know, have people like when people entered the 3D printing space, but like that style of assembling a 3D printer is definitely outdated now. So like that took me hours to make, while the Ender 3 took me like an hour to make, if even, as in that new style of T-slots is just way quicker to put together than like this style of a frame. And so I built that printer at one stage, and I was like, okay, this would be handy to just have the second printer or whatever. Built it, and I never got it working. There was something wrong, I think, with the heating element, that like the wires were loose, and you could like fiddle with it and get the wires working again, but as soon as the print head started moving around, it would loosen up. So I bought a new element for it, and I just never put it in. And that was like over a year ago, and it was just taking up a load of space. And there's another one in this box here, which has an aluminium frame, so it's probably more valuable. And yeah, so I just said I definitely don't need that one, and the stepper motors would be way more useful to me than the crappy printer. So it's gone. Yeah, like that metal printer took me like 2 days to assemble. Like, it was crazy. And I did the Ender 3. While, so my wife was in hospital delivering our, I'd say at this stage she already had the baby, because there's no way I would have done it, our second child. So I built the Ender 3 like while I was like minding our oldest child, who would have been, a toddler at the stage. And it was no problem. Like, I would have lost my mind if I was building that printer with a toddler beside me. So yeah. So any other questions for me or whatever? We're getting close to the end. The Ender 3 Pro. Ender 3. Yeah, I have an IR project that I want to do as well. I was actually I was doing a little bit of prototyping for it there a couple of weeks ago. Let me show. It's a secret project, but do you see this here? So this is copper tape that is unfocusing and focusing. Stop focusing on the chewing gum on the floor. Focus on this. Yeah, so it's copper tape, and I was just testing, could I hook it up to like the capacitive touch of an ESP32, and would it register button presses? And it does. It registers it fine. So why that might be useful is I would like, this is a hot take now, so don't anybody go stealing my ideas, or do steal it and do it better than I would. So I want to turn my entire coffee table into a remote, because we keep losing the remote, right? So I have this like cheap IKEA coffee table that's got the cardboard inside, so like there's plenty of place to hold the project. Like even under the table would be fine, but you could just cut out a little slot and like shove the whole project into the cardboard. And I just thought it'd be interesting to make like a capacitive touch table. So yeah, I thought that would be fun. I also bought some conductive paint, but I don't think that would work as well. Like capacitive touch wise, it would work fine, right? But the problem is that it's still a coffee table, so I'd imagine like cups or stuff brushing off the capacitive paint. I just don't get the feeling that this is going to be that good at paint. So yeah. Yeah, so Maiko was talking about like not glue the remote to the coffee table would be a good idea too. Putting the coffee cup in the wrong place. So like I think you'd have to have like an activate switch underneath it or something that like you press the button and it's now active for the next like 10 seconds, or while it's receiving commands for the next 10 seconds or something. So like I think that'd be pretty fun. Yeah, like realistically, we should just like put a string on the remote and attach it to the coffee table. Like, I think this would be fun. Like, why not? Also, if you use, we use a Fire TV as our main box or whatever. I don't know how to describe it. The thing we watch Netflix on, and that uses Bluetooth. So it would have to be a combination of both Bluetooth and the IR stuff. So the IR for changing the TV channel, or like, you know, turning up and down the TV, and then Bluetooth for controlling the Fire TV. Yeah, remote on the chain like a post office. Would probably work. The only thing is we'd probably end up like choking our children. Ooh, Dan Delaney. 1 second, Dan. I just need to add you to a special role. If I can do that, how can I do that? Where is it? Roles. Okay, Dan, you have a special role. And you'll see the link where I just tagged you there. So if you want to join in, do. Yes, we have a dog and they'd probably choke themselves on this chain. So that wouldn't be good. But yeah. Another thing that I would also like to do as part of that project is like embed a battery bank into that table too, because I think it'd be cool to have like a battery bank in the table and just like exposed USB ports. So welcome, Dan. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. Where are you from? What you doing? Tell us a bit about yourself.
California. I work for NASA JPL, luckily, which is a very cool job, but I'm not a rocket scientist. I always tell people I build software for rocket scientists. So.
Just, you don't even need to go into more detail than that. Just be like, I work in JPL. Drop the mic. My uncle, sorry, go ahead.
10 days from today, we'll be landing on Mars, and I say that's the royal we because I had nothing to do with it. But I had to be
Team
a part
effort.
of it. Yeah.
So my uncle actually used to work for JPL, so I don't know if it's actually too widely known like everywhere, but like JPL, it's like a subsection of NASA, is it? Or they kind of do contract work for NASA, or what? How exactly?
Separate entity, but yeah, I probably shouldn't talk too much because I'm not signed off to speak on JPL's behalf. So.
I know the feeling. Yeah. So go ahead. What would you like to show us?
Well, so yeah, so I'm, in my day job, I'm a software person, but I've been playing around with hardware and tinkering and stuff for a while, and recently got into finally designing a printed circuit board. So here's a little AT-tiny printed circuit board. That's my first little gadget. So I'm trying to figure out just a little countdown timer. So I'm working my way through the backlog of Stone Age technology here. And another one that I've discovered that I really like is this these little DL2416 screens. They're like old LED screens. They're so cool, and they're alphanumeric, which is great. This is a little Espruino device that I just use for testing it. So,
I bought some of them after David Watts showed them on his channel a while ago. They're sitting in a drawer there. I haven't touched them, but yeah,
the displays.
So cool.
Yeah. So there's those. There's like also a cheaper one you can get called a 1414 that are on AliExpress for like $1, whereas these are about $20 on eBay.
Okay, I bought the dollar ones. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So those dollar ones are great. I have a few of those too. So my next project idea is I would love to make a feather wing that runs a couple of those displays so that it's really easy to use them with like a modern feather, which I think would be really fun.
Yeah.
But the kind of first hurdle I've run into is they really like to run on 5 volts, and they can run on 3 volts. But actually, you can see what's starting to happen on 3 volts. You got like a flickery thing going on there. They just don't. Yeah. So So I guess my question is, that means I'll be designing a boost converter, which I've never done, or is there a simpler alternative? And I'm curious if you think that there's something I can get off the shelf and just kind of glom on. I'd like it to be one nice printed circuit board, but I'm not sure I want to go delving deep into the problem of how to design an efficient boost circuit.
So like, how would you be powering the feathers? Like through battery or through USB?
Yeah, I mean, ideally it's a feather wing that kind of doesn't care. So the feathers provide 3.3 volts, and I think they, generally have at least 200 milliamps or 300 milliamps left over to play with, which should be about enough to run a few, 2 of those displays maybe. So I think I use it off of the power provided from the feather, but I boost their 3.3 up to 5 volts potentially.
Yeah. So like the first thing that came to my head anyways is that as Dave Darko mentions here, you'll need to do some level shifting too.
Right.
That's actually quite straightforward though. Like you can buy, like they're really cheap. I think they're like transistors. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but like it's a transistor and a couple of like you can integrate them into your project like pretty simply. Depending on how many wires do you need to hook up to the 2 dead displays?
Well, I'm probably also looking at an I/O expander. There's like I forget the numbers now, but if there's the I2C I/O expander, because each one of those displays is like 10 pins, I think. And so I want to control it. So they have the cheap like I2C I/O expander that'll be easy, and then I can potentially run that on 5 volts, and I only have to level shift the 2 I2C lines. But then it has to be a I2C tolerant level shifter is what I've read, but I think I can handle that. But
yeah, so for the boost converter, like obviously you can buy the modules, and that would simplify like the process. Like there's really small boost modules that you can get.
In fact, there's one of these back on the back of this.
Yeah. So like I actually like doing that stuff quite a lot, especially for prototyping, right? Because like, this is kind of like almost like a black box, right? As in you're putting in your V in and you have your V out, and that's going to be 5 volts. And what's on that board, you can kind of be like, okay, this probably works, or else they couldn't sell it, right?
Yeah.
So, as in it just takes a chunk of complexity away from your project, which I like a lot. One thing that I came across recently, and it was actually one of the guys on the Discord that showed me, and he was on the stream last week, Kethin. He was showing me that Texas Instruments have like this kind of, I guess, part picker type thing where you like go to their website and fill in like, hey, this is my requirements. I'm going to have 3.3 volts. I need to boost it to 5 volts. I need about 200 milliamps, and I want to like optimize for cost or performance or whatever. Yeah. And it's great. It's really good. So like, it gives you a full BOM and stuff, and exactly the configuration you need. I see Arturo says he linked it above, but I'd say the link got swallowed. So let me make him a moderator. Oh, I'm logged on as my Brian Lough channel, and Brian Lough does not have the ability to
you're not an admin in your own channel.
I guess not. No, should probably do that. Okay, Arturo, you are linked now, so you can, or you're a mod now, so you can do that. He's just going to rickroll us probably.
Yeah.
So, that would be a good solution. The other thing that is very open source kind of like friendly way of doing it is like Adafruit have these kind of things done all the time. As in. Do they have a board that achieves, what you're looking for? And, that's all open source. So you can take a look. Like, they
have some good. Oh, I see. In terms of, looking what they do on their circuit design. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you get, like, basically you wouldn't be taking their board, but you could take their schematic and like, I definitely do that with, Adafruit and SparkFun, as in like,
Yeah.
if you come up with a design or whatever, and you're just like, oh, I just want to double check, what are they doing? Or
Right.
like even some things like I wouldn't know, like as in how many like decoupling capacitors should you put in a project or whatever, or what ESD protection you should put in. Like, as in, I don't know those things, and I don't know exactly how you do get to know them. But if you kind of take inspiration from people who know what they're doing, such as Lemore from Adafruit or whatever, like you can feel a bit more confident about, like, okay, yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, because I know they have some 5-volt boost boards, so it'd be good to that do other things, and you could just kind of isolate the 5-volt part. And
well, their 5-volt boost board is pretty hectic, right? As in, like, I think it can boost up to an amp or something, which is crazy.
They may have a smaller one too. Yeah, I'll have to look. But no, it's a good suggestion. So
I think that. So Arturo linked it there. It's the webbench.ti, the power designing switching regulator. So like that's a really good resource for following up on. So hopefully that gets you going. And if you make progress with this project down the line, we'd love to have you back as an alumni.
Appreciate it.
See where it goes. Thanks so much for coming on, Dan.
Cool.
And
thanks for having me. Good luck with all your projects.
Thank you so much, and you too.
Bye.
All right, thank you. All right, so thank you to Dan. If you have any more suggestions for him, feel free to leave them in the chat or whatever. Arturo says just read the data sheets. That's true. Sometimes the data sheets you're reading are not the best. For example, the Flexi friend, like, I have had the exact circuit that they asked for, but there was no ESD protection in it whatsoever on the IP2721. So like I was kind of like, maybe I should have something. So I was just trying to figure out a bit more about it. So Nicholas Faut has a suggestion. The AP3602A gives you 100 milliamps of 5 volts. Might be enough for a couple of screens. So thank you so much for the suggestions, everybody. So I think we're coming to an end. Thank you so much for everybody who joined in. I really appreciate it. You taking time out of your day to talk projects with me. I'm really enjoying this. I feel like this is a good way for me to learn. So even very selfishly, I'm incredibly happy to keep doing this and chatting projects with you guys. And it's nice to talk to people outside of work and like family too. So it's this is my social requirements. I'm knocking that off early in the year. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all next time. So keep an eye out on the Discord and Twitter and stuff, and I'll be linking it. And if other people have things that they want to present, questions that they want to ask, please do join in. Even if it's not something that I'm particularly comfortable answering, come on in anyways. There'll be people in the chat who will probably be able to help, and it'd be nice to watch me squirm as I really don't have a clue what you're talking about, right? As you're asking the project doc and the doc doesn't know anything. So so thanks a lot, everybody. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.